Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. We're so pleased to have in the studio with us today Agustin Pena. He is the Deputy District Attorney and the President of the San Diego Raza Lawyers Association. How you doing, Agustin?
Doing great, Drew. Thank you for having me.
We're honored to have you in there. Joined by my co-host, Kristen Vogel. She is the Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc. Just had a big shindig last night celebrating their 20th anniversary. I heard it was a whopper.
I didn't even tell you the best part. So we had those 20 balloons, like the big inflatable balloons. And I went to take them out of the car and the O just went into the distance. And so...
It was two then, right?
No, there was the 2 and there was the O, and the O just went into the stratosphere minute 1. I was like, oh, okay, the celebration's over. So that's how it went.
But I'm sure it was wonderful.
It was wonderful. That was the worst thing that happened.
Very good. Why don't you start us off?
Sure, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the mission of the organization.
Yeah, so the mission of San Diego Raza Lawyers is really to empower the local Latino community, specifically as it relates to a career in law. We are heavily involved in mentoring law students and really working with law students from the inception of their academic career in law school to transitioning to attorneys and even beyond. So the mission is really to empower the community, address any sort of legal rights issues that affect the Latino community, but also empower the community in the legal field.
And you got involved as a student, is that right?
I did. I was actually a member when I was a student in law school many, many years ago. And, to have an association like this was really inspiring for me because I truly met a lot of people who took me under their wing, who mentored me. And without these folks, I don't believe that I would be here right now standing before you and having accomplished what I have thus far. So I feel very fortunate to have met many individuals from the association, to have kind of walked me through what can be kind of a nebulous, daunting field, especially for those of us who don't have those role models and examples growing up. So to me, the association is near and dear to my heart. And ever since I discovered it, became a part of it as a law student, I've wanted to contribute and give back. And this is my way of giving back.
When did you get the epiphany? How old were you when I want to be a lawyer? Was it elementary school, middle school, high school, never school? When was it? I want to be a lawyer.
Well, admittedly, Drew, I'm not too proud to admit this, but I wasn't the best student in high school.
Yeah.
I didn't have the best academic trajectory. And the reason for that is because I didn't see myself going to college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those weren't the examples that I had. My examples were going left,
right,
and not right. So I was going in that same direction. So because of that, I thought to myself, high school is kind of a social opportunity to congregate with friends, hang out, and that's it. So needless to say, I didn't do great. I eventually did graduate high school. And, it was around that time, 18, 19 years old, that I started hanging out with some different individuals running in different circles,
right,
who start provoking thought. And really the question that I think changed my life forever, that I'll never forget, was, kind of what I wanted to do. And, I was talking to a friend of mine and kind of expressing some interest in the law and thinking, it'd be kind of cool to work in that, but it'll never happen. And my friend responds, well, why not? Why not go to law school? Why not pursue that? And truthfully, that was the first time that somebody had asked me that question and really provoked that idea. And my response was actually, me? I'm from City Heights. Where I grew up. We don't go to law school. We don't go to medical school. We don't become professionals. But that was really the first time that I can really pinpoint and identify as that was what provoked thought and further inspiration, and the rest was history.
So now you've got this idea, you got this path. Okay, so I've graduated high school. All right, want to become a lawyer. You're a bright guy. All right, what are the steps to do it? Obviously, I have to go and get a college degree, okay, and then do well on the LSAT and all that. Were you thinking that then, or was that a whole process?
So that was an entire process. I was about to embark on one of the most rigorous academic trajectories
exactly.
that I've ever embarked on. And remember, I narrowly graduated high school.
Right.
So, but little by little, Drew, it was fascinating how once I started accomplishing the small steps, the bigger steps became a lot clearer. The LSAT, graduating and transferring from community college to San Diego State University, and all these little things kind of falling into place. They really ingrained and helped me understand, hey, I'm no different than anybody else. I can go to law school, I can become a lawyer, and the everything coming to fruition and unfolding really solidified that path for me.
Yeah, exactly. So who were some of your mentors as you're going through this path? Obviously, your friend who said, well, why can't you be a lawyer?
Yeah,
obviously, that started it, right? Who else along the way?
A lot of friends who along the way, I met in the DA's office, for instance. Somebody that I hold dearly are Victor Nunez and Lilia Garcia. They are retired prosecutors and also former presidents of San Diego La Raza lawyers. So folks whose paths I have followed, folks who have laid the groundwork for a lot of us, trailblazers, in my opinion. There's a lot of other members of the association who I can credit. To go full circle really quickly, one of my high school counselors, coincidentally, her kids are attorneys. And I didn't know this when I was in high school, but fast forward to 2009, when I'm at one of the dinners for the association, I actually see my former high school counselor. So I think, oh, that's odd. What is she doing here? But again, I'm in this kind of, new universe. So I see a familiar face. So I approach her. And I ask if she remembers me, and off the bat, she completely does remember me. She actually recites a very impactful experience that she remembers from when I was in high school. And she introduces me to her family, to her significant other, her husband, and her kids who are lawyers in the community. And those are also folks, among many others, that I credit for their mentorship, their tutelage, their guidance, and really helping me along the way.
No, it's great. We're chatting with Agustin Pena. He is the deputy district attorney, and the president of the San Diego La Raza Lawyers Association. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, just doing great things in San Diego County, uplifting folks, whether it's food insecurity, it's literacy, art, everything in between, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She's the executive director of San Diego, Writers, Inc. So here you are, inspired by a friend, which I think is a great story, and then continuing on this trajectory. Obviously, perseverance is an understatement of the world. Were you the first in your family to go to college?
Absolutely. First to go to college, certainly first to go to law school. And I am the oldest. I have younger siblings and other relatives who also went the law enforcement route, but definitely was the first in my family. I did have 2 siblings, one younger sister, one younger brother. My younger brother did pass away in 2007.
Sorry to hear that.
And that was, truthfully, one of the things that really motivated me to pursue a career, not only in law as an attorney, but also prosecution specifically. When we were growing up in City Heights, he was killed by gang members. And that was an experience that really, for me, drove home the point that these things happen to everybody. Doesn't matter how involved you are in the community, doesn't matter how good you're doing or trying to do, these things do happen. And number 2, really the idea that the buck stops with me. It's time that we take ownership of our community and turn a negative into a positive. So that's really what started to focus my career into prosecution. And once I saw the case being presented here in San Diego in the DA's office, and I would witness the prosecution present the evidence in my case, literally while I'm in law school. I'm completing final examinations during the morning, and then I'm rushing to court in the afternoon to watch the same principles that I learned unfold before me. So it was a very surreal experience the first couple of years of law school. But again, I feel like that kept pushing me, and I was compelled to pursue a career in prosecution, and here I am.
No, I think that's great. Kristen?
Yeah, I'm interested in getting into some of, these are the goals of the organization, but I kind of view them as programs also, it seems like. So I wonder if we could maybe delve into them. I'm curious about the Project L.E.A.D initiative, for one.
So Project L.E.A.D is one of our, programs that are very close to heart. Project L.E.A.D initiated, if I recall, in Los Angeles a number of years ago. And Federal District Judge Curiel brought that program here to San Diego, and it's been around for a number of years. Project L.E.A.D is a program where we go into a local or a couple of local elementary schools, and we really expose the kids to the law, all sorts of law, property law, landlord-tenant, criminal justice, and we conduct presentations. The volunteers do, and all the volunteers, are give their afternoon to work with the kids, and we present scenarios that involve the law, but also kind of present some moral dilemmas, like, hey, what would you do under these circumstances, and discuss some important principles. And at the very end, when the program culminates, we finish with a mock trial, kind of a mini version of what we would normally do in a courtroom. So it's a kind of one of our long-lasting programs. It's another opportunity to have a significant impact on the children, the students, especially because the volunteers a lot of times look like them. And once they see themselves in these roles, then, inevitably we'll have somebody raise their hand and start considering a career in law, which is something that a lot of us did not do at that age.
Right. I'm sure that's changed in the trajectory. And, the focus of, certainly the association is to increase, Latino representation in that. Are you seeing more Latinos going to college, for one, and then when they go to college, majoring in poli-sci or whatever, but which usually is the pre-law, major, and then going to law school?
That's a great question, and we are seeing a slight increase. Okay. However, the numbers are still not that favorable. We're still working on changing those statistics. It is a very small amount. Right. A percentage of Latinos who are attending law school. I'm part of the scholarship review committee, and one of the things that I've noticed throughout the years is we have received an influx of applicants. Each year we receive greater numbers of applications, and fortunately we award a greater number of scholarships to the students.
Right.
But the one thing, Drew, that I've noticed is, in the applications, we ask for, your personal history and any kind of adversity they've overcome. A vast majority of them are still first generation college, first generation law students, single family homes. Same story. The years change, the applicants change, but the story doesn't change.
Interesting.
So that's one thing that I found very fascinating, in that the applicants are increasing. We are getting the numbers up. The story, though, has remained constant throughout the years.
How do we change the story?
That's a great question. I think more involvement. More involvement by organizations like La Raza Lawyers, and getting out there in the community, and really starting at the elementary school
100%.
level and working your way up. We have good partnerships with high schools and mock trial programs. We go to colleges, undergrads, the undergrads here locally in San Diego, and as well as the law schools. So we have to start there in establishing kind of a trajectory from elementary and getting some folks into law school.
We come back from break. We're going to chat more with Agustin Pena, Deputy District Attorney and the President of the San Diego La Raza Lawyers Association. We're going to talk about this big holiday gig you have coming up on December 14. Obviously, what else we can do to support your effort. I think that's a wonderful mission that you folks are doing, and anything else you want to discuss with our audience. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight in the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our AT&T year, brought to you by the very cool people of Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things for people living in San Diego County. What an honor it is to have in the studio with us today Agustin Pena. He is the Deputy District Attorney, and also the President of San Diego Raza Association. I'm with my co-host, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of San Diego Writers Inc. Kristen?
Yeah. Can we talk about the big event you have coming up December 14th?
Absolutely. So we have our annual scholarship gala on December 14th, and that's the end of the year event. Everybody is invited, of course. I'll extend an invitation to everybody here and
Thank you
listening. And this is the event that we award scholarships to law students. Since the inception of this event in 2007, this dinner, I should say, we've awarded over $600,000 to law students pursuing legal careers. So we're happy to do that. We're happy to support. And the event is going to be December 14th at the Hilton Bayfront. You're all invited to attend.
You know, what organizations do you also work with? Certainly you work with law schools, to say the least. You're working with the school districts themselves, elementary school to get them started. Also, you have a high school program. We just had on the show earlier today with a fascinating conversation with our friends of the San Diego Volunteer Lawyer Program. I'm not sure if you know them at all. And what other groups do you work with?
We actually work with a lot of legal associations here locally in San Diego, aside from the ones you just mentioned.
Yeah.
San Diego Volunteer Lawyer Program being one of them.
Yeah.
Earl B. Gilliam, Fallsdy, Palsy. I mean, I can go on and list the numerous legal entities and affinity bar organizations that we work with. The San Diego County Bar Association, another one of them. And we pride ourselves on the partnerships because we we believe in the collective efforts in advancing and helping one another collectively, doing so together. So we're happy to partner up with all these organizations, legal, non-legal, academic, and so forth.
You know, I think one of the great things that you do, one of the many great things that you do, and especially when you work with high school students, and I bet to an extent the elementary school students, is try to, best you can, explain the justice system, right? And this is how the system works, which I think many people think they know, but probably don't know. Talk about that.
You know, it's an interesting question because, you know, even my own role as a prosecutor, you know, oftentimes it's the perception of my occupation or what I do is colored by our experience on television and media. And it's a really interesting conversation to have because what I consider my role to be as a prosecutor is to seek justice, right? Whatever that may be, not to convict somebody, not to lock somebody up and throw away the key. It really is what is just for this given a scenario. And I say scenario, which includes everybody, the accused, him or herself, the victims, if there are any, but also the community. You know, as a prosecutor, we are obligated, and it's an obligation that I take very seriously, to consider everybody involved that may be impacted. The outcome may be different on a case-by-case basis, but ultimately our function in this justice system is to do the right thing. And that's considering everybody involved.
You know, you brought up something I think is just so spot on. Because I think, you know, like people are very interested, certainly in, you know, the criminal justice system, not just the lawyers, but also, you know, the police work and the sheriffs and FBI and all that business. Just be so many shows out there because people are fascinated by it. But you brought up something that I think is just so important. I'm glad you did, is that you want to make sure justice is served. And you want to be very mindful of, when this decision comes down and what I'm doing, it's going to affect the person that I'm prosecuting, but look at the other folks that it's going to impact. Talk about that.
Well, consider my background, Drew.
Yes, right.
My background is I grew up in City Heights, right? And it's a community that has had its fair share of encounters with law enforcement. Admittedly, again, not proud, but I have had my share of encounters with law enforcement that have been less than positive when I was younger. And I've had that experience. I have friends to this day who are in and out of the criminal justice system and are currently impacted by that. And I see the impact not only on them directly, but indirectly on their family, their friends, their kids. And I see the ripple effect in the community when somebody is impacted by the criminal justice system. So I have that lens or that perspective. And then I also have the lens and the perspective of being a crime victim and having to go to court and having to sit down with the prosecutor and go over evidence and see your loved ones put on the stand, and your loved one is involved in a case from the other perspective. So it's really it's an opportunity for me to bring both sides, both perspectives to the table, and I gladly do so because I think that's what true justice is, when you consider everything that's involved.
I think, and Kristen, jump in, please. I'm always fascinated by this stuff, and maybe I'll equate it similar to the field I was in, journalism. And one of my good friends, you may know him, and Charles Parisi, the founder and CEO of Cloudcast Media, knows him, Martin Kruming. Martin used to be, I think, president of the Bar Association, or he used to edit the Bar magazine. I certainly have worked with Martin for many years. He teaches a law class, a law media class at San Diego State. I'm not sure if you know him at all, but we always are fascinated because the likeness of what journalists do, and of course what lawyers do in this area. But you want to be able to hopefully tell the truth and get the word out there about things and demystify certain things and break myths about X, Y, and Z. And what you're talking about is just so spot on, educating people about this is how the justice system and this is what we're trying to accomplish. Does it surprise people when you mention this stuff that, I thought all you guys want to do is just lock up and throw people in jail?
Sometimes it does. Sometimes people, have a perspective, and it could be impacted and influenced by many things, whether it be media, whether it be their own personal life, or maybe a friend of theirs, a loved one, had an experience that they shared. And, that's the only extent of their experience with the criminal justice system or whatever it may be. So I understand that. I mean, I empathize with that, and I have compassion for that because it is only a reflection of their life experience. So my goal is to maybe provide an additional maybe nugget of information, something for them to consider in fully assessing their opinion about the criminal justice system. It is by no means perfect, right? It is by no means flawless. It has its flaws, and I think it always will. But I think given what I've seen in other countries, I think this is a really good system from what we have so far. Can it be improved? I think we're in the process of making adjustments, and this is a kind of a nationwide conversation that's being had currently. But I've had the opportunity of teaching in Mexico, teaching in Peru, teaching all over Latin America, and learning about their justice system. And the things that I've learned and the things that happen have, caused me to, my jaw drops when I hear some of the things that I've heard. So, and I share that as well with people. Like, look, we have certain rights that a lot of other people don't. And these are just dreams that they, one day want to implement in their system. When I talk to students from Latin America, they, as flawed of a system as, it may be sometimes, they see the U.S. system as the gold standard. Like, we want to be here one day. So I share all these things with folks that I have a conversation with. And I think by the end of it, a lot of folks are a little maybe surprised. Maybe they walk away with some additional insight that they didn't have before. But ultimately, hopefully it helps form their perspective on what we do.
Yeah, and the reason why, Chris, I'm so geeked up on this type of stuff is that there's so much myth out there about what a prosecutor is supposed to do, should do. And I love the fact that you talked about the justice and the impact it's going to have on everybody. Obviously, you want to prosecute someone that deserves to be prosecuted. We get that, but be also very mindful. We're chatting with Agustin Pena. He's a deputy district attorney and the president of the San Diego La Raza Lawyers Association. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Kristen, any other questions you have for Agustin?
Just, maybe people that are new to the legal field or, are interested in what you do. How can they get involved? Do you have volunteer opportunities? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. There's opportunities to be involved with San Diego La Raza Lawyers as a volunteer, as an organizer. A lot of our volunteers are actually not only law students, but other professionals who are involved in the legal community, but they're not necessarily attorneys. And if folks want to get involved with the association and hopefully pursue a career in law, we also have mentorship opportunities as well. I myself have mentored a lot of the young attorneys and law students in their trajectory into this field. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities to become involved, to obtain resources, obtain a little bit of direction. We may not have the answer to every single question and every problem, but we can help point you in that right direction, and somebody will.
Yeah, I got to tell you something. This conversation, probably to the detriment of Agustin, I could continue this for 3 more hours and not even come close to it. There's so many more questions I want to ask. And so on that note, would you be so kind to make a return appearance and then answer, other questions that we'd love to chat with you about?
Drew, Kristen, it would be my honor.
Good. We're going to make sure that that's going to happen over here. Shout out again the Holiday Gala one more time.
Thank you. The Holiday Gala is going to be December 14th of this year. Hilton Bayfront. Buy your tickets now. It is a fundraiser. It will be supporting the many, many law students who have submitted applications for scholarships. And let's help them out as much as we can.
That's good. Agustin Pena, what an absolute joy. He's the deputy district attorney and the president of San Diego La Raza Lawyers Association. We will have you back without question. Kristen Fogel, thank you so much for co-hosting again.
Anytime.
This will be another good repeat, I guarantee this. Hope everyone's been enjoying another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest running community podcast in our 18th year. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.